and you do it in an organized structure, right? Bulleted points, boom, 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 boom. Because otherwise you have, meeting paralysis where all people are doing is being in meetings all day long, and that's not effective either. Which is why when I do my team meeting, I have my entire team on the phone at one time. Each team lead is going through. If someone on their team chimes in, that's great. And all the teams in marketing know what every other team is doing, right? And all functions of the business need to work together, just like a football team does, right? The offense, defense. On the offense, there's the backs, the quarterbacks, the receivers, the linemen, the tight end. Those are all different functions. They all have a different coach.
Welcome to FutureFuzz, the digital marketing podcast.
Welcome into FutureFuzz, the digital marketing podcast. I'm Vince Quinn, and today we're talking about building high-performing teamwork between sales and marketing. And joining us for this conversation is Eric Herzog. He's a multiple-time award-winning CMO, and he is currently the CMO of Infinidat, which is an enterprise storage company. Eric, welcome to FutureFuzz.
Vince, thank you. Love to talk about this topic. I've been doing this for years, and if you don't have a tight alignment of sales and marketing, you're going to end up wasting budget.
Yeah. All right, so Eric, let's go top level then and look at this idea of the sales and marketing relationship. When there is a teamwork issue, what are some of the things that are symptoms of a teamwork issue? What does it look like?
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. You're going to a trade show and the sales guys don't know which sales guys are supposed to be showing up. Or you're doing a lead gen campaign and the leads don't get followed up on because no one's communicating from the marketing team to the sales team. What's a nurture? What's a true follow-up? What should be handled by the inside sales team? What's a hot lead that needs to go right to a sales manager to dole out to their teams? There's some very obvious things that you will see. One of the other ones, of course, is your return on investment. So you're doing various marketing activities and you're not showing a return. And usually you're not showing a return because you're not closing business. So sometimes that's just a bad strategy, right? And you try something else. But other times it's literally because sales and marketing are not working together as a team. Business is a team sport, right?
Yeah.
And all functions of the business need to work together, just like a football team does, right? The offense, defense. On the offense, there's the backs, the quarterbacks, the receivers, the linemen, the tight end. Those are all different functions. They all have a different coach, right?
Yeah.
The sub-level, and you got to get them to work together. Business is exactly like that, and you have to do that across your sales teams and your marketing teams to make sure that everybody is working together to optimize return on investment and to make sure your budget goes. It's extra important when you're in a smaller company where budgets are tight, right? When you're in a bigger company, maybe it's okay to waste money. I think it's never okay to waste money, but I've been in, 5 global Fortune 500s, and it's easier to waste money and get away with it. In a startup or a small company, you can't. And by the way, it's a bad practice anyway, right? The economy is tight. It's up one day, down the other day. You never know when the CEO is going to get some pressure to optimize profitability. Next thing you know, the marketing budget is cut or the sales budget is cut. So working them together and having the teams work together and understand who's doing what and when and where, why, and how is the most productive way to optimize budgets on both the sales side and on the marketing side.
Yeah. And so with that, then, I mean, it sounds like there's maybe 2 different angles, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of them sounds like it's more of a systems problem, right? Like the way that the execution is done is just not a good, efficient system of communication. The other side of it might be more cultural, where it's not seen as big of a deal and everybody is just focused on their own department and they're not really concerned with how the other one operates. But you tell me.
And that's true, right? That's like the professional football player, baseball player only cares about making the All-Stars and getting his contract and doesn't care if they win the Super Bowl or the World Series. Doesn't mean they're not a good player, but that's not a team player. And the best combine the All-Star, right, with the team player. And that's then the whole team wins. And by the way it works in pro sports, every time you go farther or deeper into the playoffs, there's money that the league pays you on top of what your team pays you. So it's a financial advantage to everybody working together. And so both of those are clear issues. People, just are too focused on their own thing, and other people just don't understand what it takes to communicate. And I've seen both scenarios, and sometimes if they're both happening at the same time, it's even worse. You're wasting even more money than you don't want to be wasting.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about it from the side then of people who they understand that there's a problem and they're willing to fix it. Because for the people who can't acknowledge the problem, I mean that's a whole separate issue, right? I feel like they're not even ready to have the conversation. So we'll just exclude them from it. But when it comes down to then figuring out what good communication looks like, if you have a broken system, how do you begin going to repair that?
So it's all about making sure that the people on each team know they need to be working within their own team together, right? The offensive team working together, right? But also the offense and defense working together so that the entire team wins. Okay. So you've got to make sure that everyone understands that on both teams. Okay. The sales team and the marketing team. Second thing is setting up simple process and procedures for communication. So for example, when I was at IBM, $90 billion company. When I was at EMC, $27 billion. Regular emails to the field. We had a field newsletter that went out every other week, which had sales stuff, marketing stuff, product release stuff, all kinds of assets, right? Where the assets were in the sales asset management system. Okay. There was constant communication between myself and the guys running sales, the sales VP or the CRO in a smaller company. I meet with our CRO every single Friday for half an hour. Okay. I meet with his direct reports all over the world at least twice a month for a half-hour session. And I make sure that my teams communicate, right? So, in fact, we just had a quarterly business review for one of the regions in the U.S., and I was on it, and one of the sales guys was commenting on how my field and channel marketing manager for North America is so good at communicating everything from a seminar to a webinar to something we're doing with our channel partners to something we're doing with our alliance partners, because we also have a technical alliance program for other vendors that we work with, right, for compatibility and other things. And so I'm on the call this week, and she got great kudos from the sales team. That's exactly what you want to happen and what you want to hear. Now, my own team, the entire team, now it's a small team, it's only 15 people, but even when I was at IBM and EMC, once a week, my entire team would get together for half an hour, whole team. And then each team leader would do a readout in a PowerPoint. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we did. Here's the plan. I ask a million questions because that's just the way I am. Everyone hears the questions. Everyone is encouraged to ask questions. It's easier when you have 15 people, but even when I was at EMC, I had 150 people in the team. At IBM, I had about 80. I still made them do it. So my own team knew what the other teams are doing. Think about it. Marketing itself has multiple aspects: digital marketing, channel marketing, solutions marketing, technical marketing, product marketing. Sometimes product management is in that side. You've got the PR, you have the analyst relations, you've got the website design, you've got what you're doing with alliance partners, right? And all of those various elements. Okay. There's a lot. Social media. Okay. So I make sure that my teams, whether they're the two big companies, EMC and IBM, both global Fortune 500s, communicated, and my team here at much smaller Infinidat. Then what you do, again, is you need to have the teams communicate on the sales side. Okay, you've got solutions engineering, systems engineering, solutions architects, direct sales teams, channel sales teams, global sales operations, sales enablement. And obviously at companies like EMC and IBM, those are really big teams. But even at Infinidat, there's over 160 people in the sales org. So they've got to communicate with each other. And we do something where one of my team, we do a monthly newsletter here. We did every other week at EMC and IBM because we had more people to do it. But every month is everything. Who's new in marketing? Who's new in sales? What do they do? Where do they come from? What's their LinkedIn, right, profile link? Okay, then what are the new assets? Okay, what are some new sales programs, and a link to where those sales programs are outlined if there's anything. And that goes to everyone in sales and marketing at Infinidat, and it's updated. What is the latest product release? Great. Where do you go to get information on the product? So he gathers that data from sales, from marketing, from product management. She even grabs stuff from legal if there's any legal issues, and it's all documented. So all the sales guys need to do is read that once a month And they may not need all of it, right? But the point is, within a sales team, right, there's multiple teams: the channel team, the direct team, the systems engineering team, the solutions architects, the blah, blah, blah. So that's designed to be comprehensive. It doesn't get everything, but it really covers close to 98% of what they need to know. And if they don't, then they can follow up with, the head of engineering or the head of product management or me. But those kind of are the kind of things you need to do, make sure that sales and marketing stay aligned. And again, I'm a big believer. I'm old school, right? I'm almost 70 years old. So I believe in still like talking to people. All right. So you pick up the phone, you set up a Zoom. You don't just send an email or a text. Okay. And I do email and texting too. I do it all. Right. And making sure that it's well communicated. In fact, it's pretty funny. One of the industry analysts who I've known for years, we actually used to work together at EMC, but now he's industry analyst. He told me I'm the great communicator. That was his words about me. And that's what you need to do. And sometimes it's like, it's over communicating. It's better to over communicate than not communicate, or over communicate and under communicate, because that's when, again, you waste money, you waste budget. The sales guys are doing one thing, the marketing guys are doing one thing, or the channel sales team's doing something and the systems engineers doing something different. Same thing in marketing, right? The PR team is doing something, the product marketing guys are doing something completely contradictory. So A, it's a waste of money, and B, externally to customers, to channel, to the press, to the analyst community, right? To prospects who you're trying to get to who aren't yet customers, you look freaking sloppy. And most people don't like to do business, particularly we're high-end enterprise, right? That's what we do. High-end enterprise systems, 26% of the Fortune 50 are our customers. And the bulk of our customers are global Fortune 500. That's the vast majority. So those are big, big companies, and you don't want to look sloppy. And it's a lot. Now, many of them would argue it's a lot easier to not be sloppy in a small company, by the way, because there's so many less people. Mm-hmm. I would argue that's not true. It's all about psychology of the company. And my psychology is it's better to over communicate than under communicate. So if I need a meeting, I do a meeting, and you do it in an organized structure, right? Bulleted points, boom, 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 boom. Because otherwise you have, meeting paralysis where all people are doing is being in meetings all day long. And that's not effective either, which is why when I do my team meeting, I have my entire team on the phone at one time. Each team lead is going through. If someone on their team chimes in, that's great. And all the teams in marketing know what every other team is doing. And it's every freaking week. And then I send that PowerPoint deck to all of the sales directors in the whole company. So you know what the marketing team is doing, even if they don't have don't hear it, they can at least read it if they want it. So that's the type of thing that sales and marketing teams need to do. And the tighter the budget, the more important it is. But I would argue even a big giant company, if you've got oodles of money, still, there's no reason to waste money. It hurts the profitability, right? If you're in a public company and there's stock, if the profitability gets hurt, you make less money on your stock, right? Or there's no money for raises this year, because we didn't have a good profit year. So even in a big company, there's direct impact, not only for the company, but direct impact on the employees, whether that be their stock that they get and their price for the employee stock purchase program, or, oh, you did a great job, but sorry, Eric, there's no money here for a raise this year because we didn't make enough profit. So you don't want to waste money. You want to optimize revenue and you want to optimize profit. And that means any budget you spend should be spent effectively. And this communication gap between sales and marketing is one of the things that totally screws up both the marketing budget and the sales budget.
FutureFuzz is sponsored by SalesSource, B2B pipeline management and sales growth for your business.
Yeah, and thinking about this too, I mean, on a deeper level, to have this level of communication, which I totally appreciate. At times I would consider myself an over communicator. And what happens, I would imagine, is that retention is better, like engagement is better from your employees because they know what's going on. They feel like the company has direction and they understand why they're doing stuff. because I can't tell you the number of times where I've talked to people and they just feel like they're working at a job with no direction. They're just pushing papers or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, they're just kind of filling the time and cashing a check. So to have people that truly feel a sense of ownership is going to be valuable. And you're going to get all this unexpected success because you get a different level of buy-in, right? Like, because that way now, hey, I am more plugged in. So if it was a meeting where maybe something gets proposed that I don't fully believe in or see a gap in it, I might not say anything if I don't care as an employee. But when I'm seeing that there's a level of culture here of like, oh no, we're actually addressing all these things and there is tight communication, it is a well-run operation, I might be more likely to actually say something in that meeting because it feels like it's actually going to be acted upon or it's going to be given some kind of value, and it contributes to the larger purpose. I would love to hear, one, if that's even accurate, if that's what you've seen, and the other kind of results.
Yeah, there's been studies by organizations that focused on HR and personnel, and studies have shown whether it's big companies, medium or small companies, when employees feel buy-in, they're more productive. They're happier at what they do. Doesn't mean they love it, but they're definitely happier than what they do, and sometimes they love it. And on top of that, that sense of transparency. Obviously, there's certain things you can't be transparent about with all employees, right? Revenue numbers and stuff like that when you're publicly traded. But with the stuff that you can be transparent about, studies from HR and personnel professionals have shown that you get better buy-in, better productivity. You have less attrition. Remember, attrition is expensive, right? Joe leaves, you got to hire someone else. And that means while you're hiring someone else, someone's got to do Joe's job. And then on top of that, you have to train Joe's replacement, right? Now, sometimes that's easy. In small companies, I believe that no one can learn on my watch. So I only hire super experienced people. In a big company, right? An IBM, a Microsoft, one of these big companies, they've got formal training programs, but even then they're not productive while they're going through the formal training program. So making sure that you don't have the attrition and have happier employees gives you a much higher probability of being successful.
One of these things too that's really fascinating, because obviously we're talking about this a lot in the sales and marketing mindset, but have you ever read a book called Creativity Inc. from Ed Catmull?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you would love this book because the whole idea is, so Ed Catmull, one of the founders of Pixar, and what he's talking about in the book so much is really, as the company grew, he got to a point where his job was to really set and establish culture. And one of the things that it got to a certain point where when you're a movie production studio, you have so many different departments and competing things that are going on, right? Because you've got your marketing side that does need to go and get this movie out. And you've got like a merchandising arm that wants to make sure you have things that are very sellable. Are these things cute enough to be sold as a plush toy or whatever? And then you've got obviously like your writers and producers and like the people making the film. And it got to a point where there were times where it was really chaotic behind the scenes. And so what he ultimately decided to do was he had a day where everybody from all these different departments, he would split them up and basically have, let's say there's 8 departments arbitrarily. He would have like 2 or 3 people from each department in these circles, and he would have them basically all have these little group talks on the side and just get to know each other and understand the things that they're dealing with, because that way you get appreciation for these other people who might have competing interests to you in the same company and want ultimately the same result, which is like a successful film that makes a lot of money. So just from that idea of like managing people and bringing it all together and having that all inclusive culture, one, I just think that's an interesting book that you would find fascinating, but it's that whole principle of what we're talking about with sales and marketing just applied company wide and seeing the benefits of it.
Well, we make sure that, we communicate a lot, and we have direct buy-in because everyone participates. For example, in the marketing team meeting, everyone's there. And even when I was at the big companies, everybody's there. It's kind of mandatory. So unless you're at a trade show or out with a customer, or obviously if you're 6 on vacation, but other than that, it's mandatory. You're expected to show up. And the leaders, right, of each function has to put together a presentation every week. Now, often it's pretty straightforward, right? Here's the numbers, here's the this, the that. But the point is you still have to do that work to get it ready, and then you have to present it. And the idea is that anyone can ask questions. So that gives you the buy-in, it gives you the communication capability, it gives you the understanding of what's going on. And it also allows you to make adjustments if you are going to do something that might not work as well when you see what the other functions are doing.
Yeah.
In this case, within marketing, but even when you do it with sales and marketing. So, really this alignment is really a key to delivering better productivity across the board, better budget usage, better revenue and profit, and happier employees that work together as a team. I'm an old baseball guy. I used to play baseball in high school as an all-star baseball player. I also was an Olympic class wrestler, which is an individual sport. So I've seen the individual sport, but also the team sport. So I'm big on, again, business is a team sport. It just is. And a lot of people don't get it. And that's a problem. And by the way, a company that's doing well and they're not acting like a team, if they act like a team, they're going to do twice as well. Right?
Yeah.
So it really, and it's a freaking psychological thing. But that psychological thing results in better productivity, happier employees, less attrition, better profitability for the employees, maybe a better stock price, a raise, because there's money to do that. Remember, even if the company's only doing okay, it doesn't mean they do a layoff, but they ain't going to be doing raises, right? And if the stock isn't going up and you've invested in the ESPP, you're not necessarily taking advantage of the employee stock purchase program, whose design is to have you A, buy into the company, right? You have buy-in, and B, you get to make some money on it over and above your regular salary. And, those are things that are impacted if you don't work as a team at the personal level, independent of the impact on the company. So doing it, with this strong alignment is good for the company. It's good for the teams, which are, if you will, sub parts of the company. And it's good for the individual employees. And that's why I'm a big believer that if you don't do this, you're basically blowing it and you're not going to get what you want from a business perspective.
Yeah. Well, Eric, thank you for bringing your perspective. And for the people who would like to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Best thing would be on my LinkedIn profile in public. On Twitter, I'm Zoggenstore. And yes, it's still called Twitter. I understand it's supposed to have a different name, but it's still Twitter. And then, my LinkedIn profile is completely public. So anyone could just take a look at it. And then, of course, if anyone's interested in high-end enterprise storage, www.infinidat.com.
All right, Eric, thank you so much and take care.
Great, Vincent. Thank you for inviting us to participate in the show.
Thanks for tuning in and making the choice to listen to this podcast. If you liked what you've heard today, please don't forget to subscribe.